Just adding a touch of things about the war on drugs that you made reference to, or to the issue of drug crime. So as Richard started out talking about the fact that we've got some 2.5 million people incarcerated in this country, and I'm not really good at remembering statistics and stuff, but this is a population that has grown dramatically over the last decade or two. And probably the major factor that has been driving that increase has been the so-called war on drugs. So that's an important thing to keep track of. Another thing to look at when you start to get inside the statistics is that you find that most of the people who are behind bars are people of color. And you see a difference between the way drug laws are enforced in communities of color versus in white communities. And you see other ways in which the school-to-prison pipeline operates differently. You see ways in which people, because of the punitive elements of policy now, people who get out of prisons with felony records now are prohibited from voting, are prohibited from living in public housing, are denied access to federal benefits, or denied access to educational benefits, and end up in a permanent second-class citizenship. And this is why Michelle Alexander and others have labeled this system the new Jim Crow. So I actually recommend that you take a look at Michelle Alexander's book of that name, The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in an Era of Colorblindness, to get some understanding of institutional racism as one of the factors that underlies the power of the prison industrial complex and what is driving what we're talking about right now. And even in mostly white New Hampshire, our prison populations have a much higher representation of people of color behind the walls than we have out on the streets. So this institutional racism operating through the criminal justice system affects us in New Hampshire just like it happens in every other place in the country.
Thanks. 1 second. You stole my thunder. I was just about to say the same thing. I got it written right here. I think that's what's happening in Louisiana. The overwhelming majority of, I mean, there's so many people incarcerated in Louisiana, but if you look at it, an overwhelming majority of them are people of color, which affects voting. Part of that also is that the private prison industry often has a lot of ties with government, with specifically Republican politicians, and many, I think I read a statistic that was 68% or 65% of top management and CEOs of these companies came from the public prison system. So there's a lot of sort of insidious connections here that together are unsettling.